Welcome back to the deep dive. Look, I want to start today with a date that honestly, when I first saw it, it felt like a typo. 2026.
Yeah, it really sounds like science fiction. Just feels like a lifetime away.
It does. It really does. But that is the actual date Netflix has officially stamped on the return of Avatar: The Last Airbender. And usually, when we see a 2-year gap for a streaming show, the narrative in the industry is pretty standard. We just assume they're scrambling.
Right. The usual panic.
Exactly. Like they're writing scripts in a panic, or they're renegotiating contracts, or worse, they're just sitting in a boardroom somewhere wondering if the algorithm even justifies a renewal.
It's that standard will they, won't they dance of modern television. It's exhausting for everyone.
It's exhausting for the viewers, yeah.
Yeah.
But the research we have in front of us today, it paints a completely different picture. We aren't looking at a show that's struggling to justify its existence at all. We are looking at a production anomaly, something that almost never happens in this space.
It really is a statistical outlier. You just don't see this.
You don't. The headline isn't just that Season 2 is coming in 2026. The real headline, and this is the part that made me actually stop and double-check the source material because I thought I definitely misread it. Season 3, the series finale, is effectively done.
Filming is wrapped. It is in the can.
Wrapped. Season 2 hasn't aired a single minute of footage to the public yet, and they have already finished filming the ends of the entire saga. So today, our mission for this deep dive is to unpack this roadmap. We're going to look at the massive gamble Netflix is taking here, and we need to talk about the tonal shift because, well, the kids aren't kids anymore.
They've definitely grown up, both physically and emotionally.
Yeah, and we need to talk about the Earth Kingdom, because if Season 1 was kind of a road trip, Season 2 sounds like a straight-up political thriller.
It's House of Cards with elemental magic.
I love that. House of Cards with bending. So let's start with the logistics here. This back-to-back filming strategy. To the average viewer tuning in, this just sounds like efficiency. Oh, they filmed it all at once. Great, I get my show faster. But from a business perspective, this is terrifying, isn't it? Like, why would a studio do that?
It is incredibly high risk.
Yeah.
You have to understand how the streaming business model usually works. Greenlight Season 1, put it out there. You wait for the data.
The all-important completion rates.
Exactly. Completion rates, hours viewed, social sentiment. Then, maybe 3 months later, if the gods of the algorithm smile upon you, you greenlight Season 2. You trickle out the budget. You mitigate your losses.
Right. You don't buy the whole meal until you've tasted the appetizer.
Precisely. What Netflix did here, renewing for Season 2 and Season 3 simultaneously back in March 2024, is basically writing a blank check for the entire remainder of the series before you've even seen if the audience retention holds up for the second season.
Which is wild.
They are betting hundreds of millions of dollars on a future they haven't yet.
So why do it? Is it just hubris? Is it just them saying, we know this is good?
It's confidence, sure, but mostly it's biology.
The Stranger Things problem.
Exactly, the Stranger Things problem. You cannot fight puberty. It is the one undefeated villain in Hollywood. In animation, Aang can stay 12 years old for 20 years. The ink doesn't age.
Right, you just draw them the same.
But in live action, Gordon Cormier, who plays Aang, isn't going to start growing just because the writers need a break.
He's aging in real time.
If they had taken the traditional route, film Season 2, take a year off to negotiate and write, then film Season 3, An would be looking like a college sophomore by the time he fights the Fire Lord.
Which completely breaks the immersion. You can't have a narrative that takes place over 1 year, but the lead actor visibly ages 5 years.
It shatters the suspension of disbelief. The story of Avatar takes place over a very condensed timeline. It's less than a year in the can. So by filming back-to-back without a production gap, they are essentially fighting time.
That makes a lot of sense.
They're locking the actors' appearances in amber, to ensure the visual continuity matches the narrative content.
I want to drill down on that narrative continuity for a second.
Yeah.
Because the source material mentions something that I think a lot of casual viewers miss. The Comet.
The sun's comet.
Yeah, we saw a hint of this in the mid-credits of Season 1. But clarify this for me. Is this just a plot device, or is it a literal ticking clock?
It's the ultimate deadline. In the lore, Sozin's comet arrives at the end of the summer. It's a celestial event that amplifies fire-bending power by a magnitude of, well, essentially infinite.
So they become unstoppable.
When it arrives, the Fire Nation becomes invincible. They can burn down the world. If the Fire Lord isn't defeated before that comet arrives, the war is lost. Permanent.
So the production schedule is actually mirroring the story. The characters are rushing to beat the comet, and the production team was literally rushing to beat puberty.
It creates a parallel urgency, and I think for the viewer, this changes the psychology of watching the show. You touched on this earlier. The anxiety of cancellation.
It is the absolute worst.
It is.
You invest in a show, you fall in love with the mystery, you spend hours watching it, and then it's just gone. canceled on a cliffhanger.
It creates a trauma response in the audience. It makes people hesitant to commit to new shows. Why start a mystery if you're never going to get the answer?
Exactly.
With Avatar, that anxiety is completely removed. We know the ending is secured. We know the footage exists on a hard drive somewhere right now. It allows the audience to settle in and just enjoy the ride rather than campaigning on social media for...
It's like reading a book series where all the volumes are already sitting on your shelf. You know the ending is there, you just have to get to it.
That's a perfect analogy. It creates what the industry calls a healthier hype. We aren't desperate, we're just anticipating.
Okay, so the structure is set. The roadmap is totally secure. But let's shift gears and talk about the content of that structure. Because you mentioned biology earlier, the kids growing up. We have some statements here from Gordon Cormier about how Aang is changing. And he's not just talking about getting taller.
No, he's talking about the internal landscape of the character.
It's a heavy pivot for what started as a Nickelodeon property.
But it's the necessary one. In Season 1, Aang was largely defined by denial. He was a 12-year-old boy who woke up in an iceberg, wanted to go...
He was running away from being the Avatar.
He was terrified of the responsibility.
He was basically a kid who got drafted.
Right. But look at the notes on Season 2. Cormier mentions doing more script work and finding internal depth. He's describing a character who has finally stopped running. Aang isn't trying to escape the war anymore. He's actively trying to figure out how to end. That is a fundamental shift.
And the sources mentioned the costume design actually reflects this too. I love when shows do this, visual storytelling through wardrobe.
It's subtle, but it subconsciously tells you how to feel about the character.
They mentioned a larger cape and worn clothes.
Battle-tested. That was the specific phrase used.
Battle-tested, right. Why does that matter? Why not just give him a cool, clean, new superhero suit?
Because cool isn't the story they're telling. Worn is the story. Think about the silhouette. In Season 1, Aang's robes were bright, clean, airy. They reflected the air nomads, pacifists, monks living up in the clouds.
Very light and breezy.
Now the clothes are worn. They're heavier. A larger cape gives him a more regal, commanding silhouette. It visually tells you this isn't a monk playing games anymore. This is a general in training. He's been sleeping on the hard ground. He's been fighting.
It's the difference between peacetime and wartime.
Exactly. These aren't just aesthetic choices. They signal that childhood is being left behind. The weight of the coming war is now visibly sitting on the protagonist. The world is getting darker, and Aang has tone.
Speaking of tone, this was a huge talking point for Season 1. And let's be honest, it was a bit of a mixed bag for a lot of viewers.
It definitely struggled to find its footing early on.
Some people felt it was too gritty, showing the genocide in really visceral detail right off the bat. Others felt the humor just didn't land. It felt like it was having an identity crisis between cartoon and Game of Thrones.
It's the absolute hardest needle to thread in adaptation. If you go too dark, you lose the charm, and it becomes just another depressing war drama. But if you go too light, the stakes don't feel, and the threat of the Fire Nation...
The producers seemed very aware of this critique. They've promised a better balance for season. The quote we have is scenes that bring tears and scenes that bring laughter.
That specific balance is the entire soul of the original anime. That is the magic trick they have to pull off.
Right, like breaking your heart 1 minute and then Sokka says something ridiculous the very next minute.
It's emotional whiplash in the best possible way. Real life isn't just tragedy or just comedy, it's both happening at the exact same time. The sources suggest that Season 2 feels much more intentional about building this balance. It's not just happening by accident. They're structuring the season to ensure that the heaviness of the war doesn't crush the charm of these characters.
Which is a huge relief to hear. But let's talk about where this balance is really being tested, because the story is moving. We are leaving the icy isolation of the North Pole. We are heading to the Earth Kingdom.
The massive continent, the real heart of the resistance.
And this is where the genre shifts. You called it political realism earlier. Break that down for us, because I'm used to Aang solving problems by blowing wind at them or Katara freezing people. How does politics change the action of the show?
It completely changes the win condition for our heroes. We are moving from a classic hero's journey of exploration into a drama of political
realism.
You cannot punch your way into a political alliance. You can't just Avatar state your way into getting a treaty signed. It requires negotiation, it requires compromise, and it requires navigating a massive bureaucratic system that might not want to listen.
And that system is entirely centered in Ba Sing Se.
The city of walls and secret.
The sources describe Ba Sing Se not just as a city, but as a massive playground for intrigue. And we have some new antagonists here who aren't firing, which is crucial, because usually the bad guys wear red armor.
Not here. In Season 1, the enemy was largely external. Zuko, Zhao, the Fire Natures. In Ba Sing Se, the enemy is the system itself.
Let's talk about Longfeng.
Long Feng represents that system perfectly. He is the Grand Secretariat. Think of him as the ultimate corrupt bureaucrat. He isn't necessarily out there throwing fireballs at you. He's throwing red tape, manipulation, and silence. He controls the flow of information.
Which is arguably way more dangerous than a fireball.
It is. A fireball you can dodge. A lie that an entire city believes as absolute truth. That's much harder to fight.
And then there's Judy.
Judy.
The source material specifically calls out the creepy factor.
She is fascinating and genuinely terrifying. The source describes her as the physical embodiment of the mass
Order. That just sends a shiver down.
It should. Her role is the cold, calculated repetition of everything is fine. She is the smiling face of the propaganda. While the truth, the literal global war, is being buried, she is the one smiling brightly and telling you to ignore your own lying eyes.
It's gaslighting on a national scale.
It is exactly that. And then you have the Earth King himself, Kui. The challenge for the heroes isn't defeating him in combat, it's just reaching. They have to navigate these dense layers of Longfeng and Judy just to get the truth to the...
It's a theme we all know from the lore. There is no war in Ba Sing Se.
Exact. And that theme changes the fundamental nature of the conflict. Manipulation, propaganda, power games, these sit at the center of... It contrasts sharply with the flashy elemental fights. You're fighting a mindset now, not just an army.
But thankfully, they aren't doing it alone. And this brings us to probably the biggest hype moment for Season 2.
The arrival.
The blind bandit herself, Toph Beifong.
The ultimate game changer.
We have a casting confirmation. Mia Sek is playing Toph, and the sources say she is effectively the marketing engine of the season.
It makes complete sense. Toph is a fan favorite for a reason, and the first look images suggest she is officially in the game.
But let's play devil's advocate for a second. The group dynamic was pretty solid in Season 1. Adon, Katara, Sokka, they had a vibe. Why do we need a fourth wheel? Does it disrupt the chemistry they just spent a whole season building?
It absolutely disrupts it, and that's exactly why it's necessary. Toph is the breaker. She breaks their established rhythm.
In a good way.
In a vital way. Up until now, the group has been very supportive. Very, we can do this together team. Toph raises the humor level because she's just blunt. She doesn't care about your feelings. She cares about the harsh truth. She picks her nose. She mocks them. She's rich. She's arrogant. And frankly, she's better than them at almost everything.
She's the friction that makes the fire.
Exactly. But visually, the sources are really emphasizing her action style. The seismic.
Okay, I want to pause on that. Seismic sense. Sounds like a superhero power, but how does it actually work? How do we explain this to someone who hasn't read the wiki or seen the cartoon?
Think of it like sonar, like how a bat navigates or a submarine. But instead of sound waves traveling through the air or water, it's vibrations traveling through the ground. Toph is blind. She cannot see light, but she feels.
So every movement registers to her.
Every time someone takes a step, every time a heart beats fast, every time a rock shifts, she feels the vibration right through her.
So she builds a map in her head.
She builds a perfect three-dimensional map of her surroundings instantly. She sees you before you see her because she feels your weight shift before you even throw the punch.
That sounds incredible visually, but also really hard to film in live action.
This is going to be the major visual test for the live action. If they just have her looking around with blank eyes, it won't work. The source mentions that this blind, earth-bending prodigy angle is being highlighted specifically to push the action language of the show forward.
If they nail that choreography, it's going to be amazing.
It's viral social media gold. We've seen water bending, it's fluid and graceful. We've seen fire bending, it's explosive and aggressive. But Toph's style is different. It's grounded, it's precise, waiting and listening. It's based on the southern praying mantis style of kung. If they can translate that seismic sense into a visual language the audience can immediately understand, it's going to be incredible television.
But it's not just about kicking rock. The source list includes Lady Beifong in the cat, Toph's mother.
Which points directly to the emotional core of Toph's arc.
The family conflict.
Toph's story is fundamentally about the struggle for independence. She's arguably the most powerful earthbender in the entire world, maybe ever, but her parents, they treat her like she's made of fragile glass.
They hide her away.
They hide her, they coddle her, they think she's completely helpless because of her disability.
That dynamic is so relatable to a lot of people.
Yeah.
The parent who loves you but completely underestimates what you're capable of.
It is. And if the show handles this right, Toph scenes won't just be the most explosive action moments of the season. They could be the most emotionally impactful. Watching a child have to fight her own parent, not physically but ideologically, just to be allowed to exist as her true self. That parallels Aang's growing maturity perfectly. They are both kids stepping out of the shadows of what expect them.
So the team is growing. Aang is maturing. Toph is arriving. But let's talk about how the existing team, the core gang, is functioning now. Because Season 1 had a bit of a critique that they were split up way too much.
They were. For pacing reasons, Season 1 often sent them on side quests separately. Aang, you go here. Katara and Sokka, you go into the spirit world over there.
Which makes sense for managing screen time, but it really hurts the chemistry development.
Exactly. The sources emphasize that Season 2 focuses heavily on the gang functioning together.
Reunited and actually staying that way.
And not just hanging out around a campfire, functioning as a cohesive tactical Katara. She is evolving from just being a talented bender to a decisive force in battle.
A decisive force. I really like that phrasing. It sounds less nurturing and more inherently dangerous.
Her leadership presence is elevated. She's becoming the mom of the group in a tactical battlefield sense, not just a nurturing emotional sense. She calls the shots when the fighting starts.
And Sokka. He's the non-bender of the group. In a season that's all about high-level earthbending and firebending, does he just get sidelined?
Actually, it's the complete opposite. Sokka is still the comedic presence. We absolutely need that levity, but his strategist side is being heavily emphasized this time around.
And this is crucial for the Earth Kingdom arc, right?
Absolutely. We just talked about how Ba Sing Se is this massive political puzzle. You can't bend your way out of a sprawling bureaucracy. You need a plan. You need skepticism.
Sokka is the skeptic.
Sokka is the detective. He's the one who looks at the smiling Zhu Di and says, something is deeply wrong. In a complex political landscape, Sokka's intelligence battles become major turning. His brilliant plans are going to be just as important to their survival as Ekong.
And we can't forget the most important members of the team, the ones who don't speak a single line of dialogue.
The fluff.
Appa and Momo.
Confirmed to remain fluff.
Thank goodness they aren't trying to make them gritty.
And honestly, the source makes a really great point about this. They act as essential breathing the audience. With all this heavy talk of war, corrupt politics, family trauma, and gaslight, you desperately need that warmth. Appa and Momo prevent viewing. They remind us that there is still innocence and beauty in them.
You definitely need to feel that fuzziness to keep going through the dark stuff. Now, there was a specific leak mentioned in the source material, a Season 3 set photo that Netflix shared.
Yes, the group shot that got everyone talking.
It featured Aang, Katara, Sokka, Zuko, Toph, and Suki.
The inclusion of Suki in that core lineup is highly...
She was a guest star in Season 1, a great one, but still a guest. What does her placement here tell us about where things are going?
It tells us she's getting the varsity promotion. Her central placement suggests greatly elevated importance. It's not just magic benders saving the world anymore, it's highly trained warriors standing right alongside them.
It diversifies the skill set of the heroes.
It does. She's a Kyoshi warrior. She brings intense discipline, she brings non-magical combat expertise, and honestly, it democratizes the heroism of the story. You don't have to be born with a magical gift to save the world. You can just be really, really good with a fan and a sword.
I love that message for the audience. But they aren't the only new faces we're going to see. The source lists a few other additions that really hint at what we're going to experience.
Right. We have Professor Zai.
The guy from the library.
Likely. He represents the pursuit of knowledge and ancient history. This suggests we are going to dive into the Spirit Library episode, which is a massive lore expansion for the universe.
Then there's General Song.
Battlefield strategy. It shows the Earth Kingdom army isn't just a disorganized mob. It has general. It has strict hierarchy and military tactics.
And the Boulder.
The Boulder.
Please tell me they are leaning into the over-the-top wrestling persona.
The name alone suggests we're getting some arena-style action and entertainment. It's essentially the pro wrestling of the Earth Kingdom. It brings a totally different flavor of axe-screen performance combat rather than life or death struggles.
I cannot wait to see who they got to play the Boulder.
Rare.
But there's one more name on the list that feels very heavy. Zhang.
The deserter. This is critical for Aang's development. It brings in the complex master and apprentice dynamic.
But not in a fun, hey, let's learn a cool new magic trick kind of way.
No, not at all. Zhang teaches firebending, but he hates it. He fears his own power. He views it as a curse of pure destruction. Aang's learning process is no longer childish trial and error. With a severe teacher like Zhang, mistakes carry the actual weight of war.
It reinforces that theme of maturity we started with today.
Exactly. Fire isn't a toy to play with. It's a living thing that breathes, assumes everything it touches.
Okay, so we've covered the good guys. We've covered the Earth Kingdom bureaucracy. Now we have to look across the map to the other side of the war, the Fire Nation.
The aggressors.
But it's not just about faceless soldiers marching in formation. The source material highlights a really intense psychological triangle at play here. Zuko, Azula, and Ozai.
And a fourth name that changes everything about that dynamic. Ursa.
Zuko's mother.
The casting of Ursa opens some serious doors for the storyline.
How so? She's gone as...
She is, but her absence is the defining trauma of Zuko's entire life. Bringing her onto the screen, even if it's just in flashbacks or hallucinations, moves the conflict from the battlefield direct. We've seen Zuko struggle with his honor, we've seen him struggle with fault, but bringing his mother in narrative allows Zuko's arc go so much deeper psychologically.
It explains the root of the trauma.
Right. Ozai's shadow doesn't just exist on the map of the world, it exists inside the family dynamic. It explains why Zuko is so utterly desperate for approval, and it explains why Azula, she is the direct counterweight to everything happening in the Earth Kingdom.
She is definitely not slowing down.
Following the fall of Omashu in Season 1, her presence banding mass, while Ba Sing Se is doing its slow, creepy internal manipulation, the Fire Nation is executing a rapid, aggressive advance across the continent.
So we have these dual layers running simultaneously for the viewer.
Exact. Layer 1 is the political struggle and hidden secrets in Ba Sing Se. Layer 2 is the psychological warfare and military expand fire. It's a pincer move.
It sounds incredibly intense, but with any adaptation there are always risks involved, and the producers have made a statement that they are exploring stories not fully covered in the anime.
Which is always a double-edged sword for hardcore fans. New material can mean, hey, we're fixing old plot holes, or it can mean we're making things up that don't fit the original vision.
The source speculates this could mean expanding underdeveloped character back.
Or adding new transitional events to fit the live action. Since they are combining timelines to fight the aging of the actors, they might need new connective tissue to make the story log. For example, how do the timelines of Azula chasing the group sync up with the dense politics of the Earth King? They might need to invent brand new scenes to bridge that narrative gap.
The Ba Sing Se arc specifically seems to be the big gamble. The source says they're protecting it carefully, lots of secrecy on set.
Because it's the absolute linchpin of the season. If the tension of that everything is fine atmosphere lands, if they nail that Orwellian creepy vibe, Season 2 levels up immensely.
It becomes prestige TV at that point.
It does. But if they miss the tone, if it just feels like a bunch of boring meetings in a green room, the season will drag terribly. The risk is high, but the potential reward is... They are betting that the audience is mature enough to sit through the slow burn tension to get to the massive...
So bringing it all back to where we started today, the roadmap.
The roadmap is secure.
Season 3 is wrapped, casting is complete. They even announced Piandao and Hama, which we didn't even get to fully unpack today, but those are huge pivotal characters for Sokka and Katara, respectively. Piandao is the ultimate sword master. Hama is, well, she's practically a horror movie villain.
The pieces are all set on the board. The endgame is locked.
And the ending is totally planned out.
Which brings us back to that healthy hype we discussed. We aren't sitting around asking if they can finish the story. We're asking how they connect the dots to get there.
It's a rare comfort in the streaming era. So here's the final thought I want to leave you with. It's something the source material hinted at that really stuck with me while preparing for this.
Let's hear it.
We are so used to the big bad guy being the fire, the guy who sits on a throne of flames and shoots lightning, the ultimate physical threat. But in this season, defined by political realism, the most unsettling scenes might not be the large, explosive battles.
Right.
It might just be the cold, quiet repetition of lies in a city where everything is supposedly fine.
The scariest villain in Season 2 won't be a firebender at all. It might just be the bureaucracy of the Earth Kingdom itself, the sheer banality of evil.
And that is a terrifying thought for you to chew on until 2026.
Indeed it is.
That's it for our deep dive into the future of Avatar. We'll be watching closely for that first trailer to drop. Until then, keep
And remember, there is no war in Ba Sing Se.
See you next time.